The moonrise ceremony should have been beautiful. Silver light spilled through the ancient oak canopy, illuminating the clearing where the Silvercrest pack gathered in a perfect circle. Young wolves stood at the center, their eyes gleaming with anticipation, their bodies trembling with the promise of transformation. Mira stood among them, though at 22, she had no right to be there. Again? Someone whispered behind her. She didn't need to turn to know it was her sister's friend, Raina. How many times is this now? 5? 6? 7? Another voice corrected. My mother says it's shameful, the beta's daughter, unable to shift. It's unnatural. Mira's fingers curled into fists at her sides. She kept her eyes fixed on the full moon above, willing herself to feel something, anything. The pull that every wolf described, the burning in their veins, the joy of letting their wolf free. But there was only silence. A hollow, echoing void where her wolf should have been. Mira Ashford. Luna Cassandra's voice cut through the murmurs like a blade. The pack's Luna stood at the edge of the circle, her white dress flowing around her like water, her face beautiful and cold as marble. Step forward. Mira's legs moved before her mind could protest. The circle parted, wolves stepping back as though her failure might be contagious. She reached the center and turned to face the Luna, forcing herself to meet those ice-blue eyes. You are 22 years old, Luna Cassandra said, her voice carrying to every member of the pack. Far beyond the age of first shift, yet you stand here, again, attempting what comes naturally to every wolf from the age of 13. She paused, letting the words sink in. Tell me, Mira, do you even feel your wolf? The clearing fell silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. No, Luna. The admission tasted like ash on Mira's tongue. No, Luna Cassandra repeated, her lips curving into something that might have been a smile on a kinder face. Because there is no wolf to feel. You are broken, child, cursed perhaps by whatever darkness took your mother. Mira's chest tightened. Don't cry. Don't you dare cry in front of them. My daughter shifted at 14, Luna Cassandra continued, turning to address the pack. She is now one of our finest warriors, but Mira, the beta's eldest daughter, carries nothing but shame. She turned back to Mira, her eyes glittering with malice disguised as pity. One more chance. Shift now, before your pack, or accept what you are, wolfless, worthless. The word hit like a physical blow. Mira closed her eyes, reaching inward the way she'd done hundreds of times before. She imagined claws and fur, imagined the freedom of running on 4 legs beneath the moon. She thought of her mother, the woman she'd never known, who had died bringing her into this world. Please, she begged silently. Please let me shift. Let me belong. Her body remained stubbornly human. No burning, no transformation, just the same flesh and bone she'd always been trapped in. When she opened her eyes, she saw the disappointment on every face, the disgust, the confirmation of what they'd always suspected. Father. She turned to the tall man standing beside the Luna, his beta rank displayed in the silver cords woven through his formal vest. Marcus Ashford looked at his daughter with something worse than anger. Resignation. Please. Enough. His voice was flat, emotionless. The voice he used for pack business, not for family. You have brought shame to this family for the last time, Mira. The Luna is right. You are broken. He paused, and in that silence, Mira felt her world crumbling. I disown you. You are no longer my daughter, no longer a member of this pack. You have until tomorrow's sunset to gather your belongings and leave Silvercrest territory. The gasps that rippled through the crowd were nothing compared to the roaring in Mira's ears. Disowned. Cast out. The worst fate a wolf could face, except she wasn't even a wolf, was she? Marcus. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. Please, I'm still your daughter. You are nothing, he said, and turned his back on her. The circle broke apart. Wolves returned to their celebrations, to admiring the young ones who had successfully completed their first shifts. Mira stood alone in the center, invisible despite standing in the brightest patch of moonlight. Her younger sister, Kara, caught her eye from across the clearing. Beautiful Kara, with her golden hair and perfect shift, who had become everything Mira could never be. For a moment, something flickered in Kara's expression: guilt? Pity? But then she turned away, drawn into conversation with other warriors. Mira didn't remember deciding to run. One moment she was standing in the clearing, the next she was crashing through the forest, branches whipping at her face, tears finally falling now that no one could see. Her human legs carried her deeper into the woods, away from the packlands, away from the shame. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs gave out. She collapsed against a massive oak tree, pressing her forehead against the rough bark, and let herself break. This was it. Tomorrow she would be exiled to the human world, where she would live as one of them, ordinary, mundane, forever on the outside looking in. No pack, no family, no purpose. A howl split the night. Mira's head snapped up. That hadn't come from the direction of the ceremony. It was distant, from the eastern border, and it was followed by another howl, then another, until the forest echoed with them. But these weren't the voices of her pack. These howls were deeper, darker, carrying a power that made her bones vibrate. She pushed herself to her feet, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. The howls were coming closer, moving fast. Horror dawned. The Alpha King's convoy. They were supposed to arrive tomorrow to select warriors for the elite guard. But the howls cut off abruptly. In the sudden silence, Mira heard something worse. The thunder of paws on earth. Multiple wolves, running in formation, coming straight toward packlands. She had to warn them. Whatever her father had said, whatever the pack thought of her, they were still in danger if the Alpha King's wolves arrived unannounced and were mistaken for rogues. Mira turned and ran back the way she'd come, her human speed pathetic compared to what any wolf could achieve. She burst out of the tree line near the pack house, just as the Eastern Guards began shouting warnings. "Stand down!" A voice boomed across the territory, carrying supernatural command. "We are the Alpha King's guard. We mean no harm." The pack house erupted into chaos. Warriors poured out, half-dressed, some still mid-shift. Luna Cassandra appeared on the balcony, her face pale. "The Alpha King," she breathed. "He's early." Mira pressed herself against the side of the pack house, trying to stay out of the way as dozens of massive wolves emerged from the forest. They were larger than any wolf she'd ever seen, their eyes glowing with power, their presence suffocating. And then he appeared. The Alpha King stepped out of the shadows between the trees, and every wolf in the territory dropped to one knee. Even Luna Cassandra bowed her head. He was still in human form, though power radiated from him in waves that made the air shimmer. Tall and broad-shouldered, with black hair that fell past his collar, and eyes that gleamed like molten silver. He looked ancient and ageless, all at once, beautiful and terrible. Mira felt frozen in place, unable to move, unable to breathe. She'd heard stories of Lycan King Darius Blackthorn, the immortal king who had ruled for over 3 centuries, whose power was unmatched, whose judgment was absolute. Those silver eyes swept across the gathered pack, dismissive, until they landed on her. The world stopped. The Alpha King went completely still, his nostrils flaring. Those silver eyes locked onto Mira with an intensity that made her want to run and stand her ground all at once. Something flickered across his face. Shock? Recognition? It was gone too quickly to read. "You." His voice was dark velvet and thunder. He moved toward her with fluid grace, his guard parting before him. "Come here." Mira's legs wouldn't move. She was vaguely aware of her father rising from his bow, stepping forward. "Alpha King, that is merely a servant," Marcus said quickly. "Not worth your—" "I gave her a command." Darius didn't look away from Mira. "Will you obey, or will I have to come get you?" It wasn't really a choice. Mira forced her legs to work, walking across the courtyard on shaking limbs. She stopped a few feet away from him, close enough to see the silver flecks in his eyes, close enough to smell pine and smoke and something wild. He circled her slowly, like a predator assessing prey. She felt his gaze on every inch of her. saw his chest rise as he drew in her scent. "What is your name?" he asked. "Mira." Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "Mira Ashford. Ashford." His gaze flicked to her father, then back to her. "The beta's daughter? Not anymore," she said quietly. "I was disowned tonight." Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. "Why?" "Because I cannot shift. I'm wolfless." The pack held its collective breath. Admitting such a thing to the Alpha King was tantamount to signing her own death warrant. Weak wolves were culled. Broken ones were. "Good," Darius said. The single word sent a ripple of confusion through the crowd. Mira's head snapped up, certain she'd misheard. "Alpha King," Luna Cassandra's voice was carefully controlled. "Surely you don't mean—" "Prepare a guest room in your pack house," Darius commanded, still looking at Mira. "She stays under my protection tonight. Tomorrow, she comes with me to the capital." "No." Marcus stepped forward, his face reddening. "Alpha King, with all due respect, she is worthless. An embarrassment. She will bring shame to—" Darius moved faster than Mira's human eyes could track. One moment he was standing beside her, the next he had Marcus pinned against the pack house wall, one hand around the beta's throat. "Finish that sentence," Darius said softly, "and I will rip out your tongue and feed it to my wolves. She is under my protection. Do you understand what that means?" Marcus gurgled something that might have been agreement. Darius released him and turned back to Mira, his expression softening fractionally. "Come," he said, extending his hand. "We have much to discuss." Mira stared at his hand, like it might bite her. Nothing made sense. The Alpha King should have been disgusted by her, should have ordered her execution for daring to stand before him while broken and wolfless. Instead, he was protecting her, claiming her. Why? She placed her hand in his, and something electric jolted through her at the contact. His fingers closed around hers, strong and warm, and he led her toward the pack house as the entire territory watched in stunned silence. Luna Cassandra's face was a mask of barely controlled fury. Kara looked confused and jealous all at once, and her father, Mira, didn't look back. The guest room was the finest in the pack house, a space usually reserved for visiting alphas. Mira stood in the center of it, still wearing her ceremony dress, while the Alpha King prowled the perimeter like a caged animal. His guard had been dismissed. It was just the two of them, and the silence was suffocating. "Sit," he said, finally, gesturing to the plush chair by the window. Mira sat, her hands folded in her lap, and waited. She'd learned long ago that silence was safer than speaking. Darius stopped pacing and turned to face her. In the soft lamplight, he looked less terrifying and more tired. Ancient weariness lived in those silver eyes. "How old are you?" he asked. 22, and you've never shifted?" "No, Alpha King. Darius," he corrected. "When we're alone, you may call me Darius." He moved closer, crouching before her chair so they were eye level. "I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to answer truthfully. Can you do that?" Mira nodded, her throat tight. "Do you feel anything right now? Any pull toward me? Any recognition?" She thought about lying, about telling him what he might want to hear, but something in his gaze told her he would know. "No," she whispered. "Should I?" A muscle in his jaw tightened. "Most would, yes." He stood abruptly, running a hand through his black hair. "But you're not most wolves, are you, Mira? I'm not a wolf at all." "No," he agreed, and his next words changed everything. "You're not. You're something far more rare. Far more precious." He turned to face her fully. "Tell me what you know about Lunarborns." Mira frowned. Nothing. I've never heard of them." "Of course not. Your pack made sure of that." Bitterness laced his words. 300 years ago, before the Great Purge, there existed a bloodline of shifters who were different from wolves. They were called Lunarborns, and they were hunted to extinction. He paused. "Or so we thought." "I don't understand." "You don't shift into a wolf, Mira, because you were never meant to. You're a Lunarborn, the first I've encountered in 3 centuries. The room tilted. Mira gripped the arms of the chair, trying to process his words. That's impossible. My mother was a wolf. My father is a wolf. My sister. Your mother, Darius interrupted gently, was also a lunar-born. I can smell it on you, her bloodline, ancient and powerful, running through your veins. But she's dead. She died giving birth to me. Something flickered in his expression. Not quite pity, more like knowing. Did she? Or is that simply what you were told? The implication hung in the air like poison. Before Mira could respond, Darius continued. Lunar-borns were feared because they possessed abilities that threatened the established order. They could nullify wolf magic, heal mortal wounds, and shift into forms that defied nature itself. He moved to the window, gazing out at the moonlit forest. During the purge, they were hunted down and slaughtered. Every man, woman, and child. The wolves convinced themselves it was necessary. That lunar-borns were dangerous, unnatural. Were they? Mira asked quietly. Dangerous? Only to those who sought to control them. He turned back to her. You asked if you should feel something toward me. The answer is yes. Because according to every prophecy, every ancient text, every scrap of knowledge that remains about your kind, you're my fated mate. The words hit like a physical blow. Mira's laugh came out strangled, disbelieving. No, that's not possible. I don't feel anything. No bond, no pull, no, I know. His voice was quiet. And that terrifies me more than you can imagine. Mira stood on shaking legs. This was too much. All of it. Why? Why would it terrify you? You're the Alpha King. You could have any mate you wanted. Because I don't have time to find another. The words came out harsh, almost angry. He closed the distance between them in 2 strides, and Mira saw something in his eyes she hadn't expected: desperation. I'm cursed, Mira, and you're the only one who can break it. What? He turned away from her, his shoulders tense. When he spoke again, his voice was raw. 10 years ago, I was cursed by a witch whose mate I killed in honorable combat. She couldn't take my life. I'm too powerful for that. So she took something worse. He paused. My memories, Mira's breath caught. Every full moon, I lose pieces of myself. Recent memories vanish, first conversations, faces, events, but it's progressive. Each moon takes more, reaches further back. He looked at her over his shoulder. In 10 years, I won't remember who I am. I'll become feral, a beast with no humanity left. And when that happens, I'll have to be put down like a rabid dog. Horror washed over her. How long do you have? The next blood moon is in 6 days. After that, he shook his head. The prophecy said only a lunar-born mate could reverse the curse. But the bond must be completed, marked, and consummated under the blood moon, if not. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Mira sank back into the chair, her mind reeling. So you're not protecting me out of kindness. You need me. Yes. He didn't try to soften it. But that doesn't mean I won't protect you regardless. If anyone discovers what you are, they'll kill you. The fear of lunar-borns runs deep in our world. You'll be seen as a threat, an abomination. Like I've been seen my whole life anyway, Mira said bitterly. Darius crouched before her again, and this time when he took her hands, she didn't pull away. You are not broken. You are not cursed. You are powerful beyond measure, and your pack spent your entire life making sure you never discovered that truth. His silver eyes burned into hers. Come with me to the capital. Let me help you unlock what you are. And if, when the time comes, you choose not to complete the bond, I'll accept that. But at least give yourself the chance to become who you were always meant to be. Mira looked down at their joined hands. His were calloused, scarred from centuries of battle. Hers were small and pale and unremarkable, but there was no tremor in his grip, no hesitation. He believed in her. This ancient, powerful king believed she was something more than the broken, shameful creature her pack had made her feel. Okay, she whispered. I'll come with you. Relief flooded his features. He squeezed her hands once, then stood. Get some rest. We leave at dawn. He moved toward the door, then paused. Mira? Yes? Thank you. The words were soft, almost vulnerable, for giving me hope. Then he was gone, and Mira was alone with the impossible truth of what she might be. She didn't sleep. How could she? Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the disbelief on her father's face, heard the disgust in Luna Cassandra's voice. And beneath it all, Darius's words echoed. Your mother was also a lunar-born. Had her mother been murdered? Had the pack known what she was? The questions circled endlessly until dawn broke pink and gold across the sky. Mira rose, still wearing her ceremony dress, and found a pack servant had left fresh clothes outside her door. Travel clothes, sturdy and well-made, in deep blue. She changed quickly, braided her dark hair, and opened the door to find Darius waiting in the hallway. He'd changed too, into black leathers that made him look every inch the warrior king. His silver eyes swept over her, assessing. Ready? No. Yes. The pack had gathered in the courtyard to see them off. Mira spotted her father standing with Luna Cassandra, his face carefully blank. Kara stood among the warriors, her expression unreadable. Darius's guard had already shifted, massive wolves waiting in formation. He turned to address the pack, his voice carrying effortlessly. I came to select warriors for my elite guard. I've made my choice. He gestured to Mira. She is under my protection and will return with me to the capital as my honored guest. Any who have issue with this may speak now. Silence. No one was fool enough to challenge the Alpha King, Darius. Luna Cassandra stepped forward, her voice honey-sweet and poisonous. Surely you don't mean to take a wolfless girl to the capital. She has no training, no value to your guard. Perhaps she is my fated mate, Darius said, and the courtyard exploded into shocked gasps and whispers. Insult her again, Luna, and I will rip out your tongue and mount it on my wall as a trophy. Are we clear? Luna Cassandra's face went white. She bowed her head. Crystal, Alpha King. Mira felt every eye on her. Fated mate. He'd said it in front of her entire pack, had claimed her publicly. There was no taking it back now. But she still didn't feel the bond. Shouldn't she? If they were truly fated mates, shouldn't there be some recognition, some pull? Unless she really was broken. Unless even destiny had rejected her. Darius offered his hand. Come, we have a long journey ahead. Mira took it, letting him lead her toward the waiting wolves. She didn't look back at her father. Didn't acknowledge Kara's stare or Luna Cassandra's barely concealed fury. She was done being the pack's reject. If she was going to be anything, she would be the Alpha King's mate, whatever that meant. They traveled in wolf form, or rather, the guard did. Darius shifted into a massive black wolf with silver eyes, easily twice the size of any normal wolf. Mira rode on his back, her fingers tangled in his thick fur, her human legs gripping his sides. It should have been humiliating, being the only one who couldn't shift, but Darius had offered without making it seem like weakness, had lowered himself so she could climb on with dignity intact. They ran through the day, stopping only briefly for water. The landscape changed from dense forest to rolling hills to the towering mountains that housed the capital. Mira had never been beyond Silvercrest territory. The world was so much larger than she'd imagined. As the sun began to set, they crested a final ridge, and Mira's breath caught. The capital sprawled across a valley, a city of white stone and glittering towers. At its heart stood the palace, massive and magnificent, its spires reaching toward the darkening sky. Wolves in human form walked the streets below, going about their lives under the protection of their king. Darius shifted beneath her, and Mira quickly climbed down as his form changed from wolf to man. He stood before her, unconcerned by his nakedness, and accepted clothes from one of his guards. Welcome, he said, pulling on dark pants and a simple shirt, to Lunaris, capital of the wolf territories and seat of my power. He gestured toward the palace. Your new home. Home. The word felt foreign. Mira had never truly had a home, even when she'd lived with her pack. Come. Darius said, offering his arm. "There's someone I need you to meet." They descended into the city, Darius's guard flanking them. Wolves bowed as they passed, their eyes curious when they landed on Mira. She kept her head high, refusing to shrink under their stares. The palace was even more impressive up close. They climbed white marble steps, passed through golden doors, and entered a grand hall with vaulted ceilings and windows that caught the last rays of sunlight. But Darius didn't stop to give her a tour. He led her through winding corridors until they reached a heavy wooden door. He knocked twice. "Enter," a raspy voice called. The room beyond was dark, lit only by dozens of candles. Books and strange artifacts covered every surface, and in the center of it all sat an ancient woman with white hair and eyes that swirled with colors that shouldn't exist. "So," the woman said, studying Mira with unsettling intensity, "you brought me a lunar-born. How delightful." "This is Morgana," Darius said. "She's a witch, one of the few I trust. She's going to help you unlock your shift." Mira's heart raced. "How did you know what I am just by looking at me?" Morgana's laugh was like dried leaves rustling. "Child, I can smell the moon magic on you. It's intoxicating." She rose from her chair with surprising grace. "Come. Let me see what's been done to you." "Done to me?" "The suppression spell, dear girl." Morgana circled her, much like Darius had the night before. "Someone has locked your power away, quite expertly, I might add. This was done when you were very young. An infant, perhaps." Mira's blood ran cold. "Who? That? I cannot tell you, but I can try to break it." She gestured to a clear space in the center of the room. "Sit. This may be uncomfortable." Mira sat cross-legged on the floor, her heart hammering. Darius moved to stand against the wall, his arms crossed, his expression tense. Morgana knelt before her and placed both hands on Mira's temples. The moment skin touched skin, pain exploded through Mira's skull. She screamed. Images flashed behind her eyes, a beautiful woman with dark hair and Mira's features, holding a newborn baby. The woman's eyes were wide with fear as wolves surrounded her. Luna Cassandra, younger but just as cruel, her hands glowing with dark magic. She'll never shift, she'll never know what she is, and when the time comes, she'll be powerless to stop us. The vision shattered. Mira gasped for air, sweat pouring down her face. Morgana sat back, her expression grim. "Well?" Darius demanded. "Can you break it?" "No," Morgana said quietly. "The spell is tied to her very life force. Breaking it by force would kill her." She looked at Mira with something like pity. "There's only one way to unlock your power, child. You must choose it yourself. You must want it badly enough that your will overcomes the magic binding you." "I do want it," Mira said desperately. "I've wanted to shift my entire life." "No," Morgana corrected. "You've wanted to be accepted, to belong, to not be broken." She leaned forward. "You must want your power for its own sake, for what you can become, not what others think you should be." Mira slumped. How was she supposed to do that? Her entire identity had been built around her failure to shift. How could she suddenly want something she'd never truly understood? "Keep trying," Morgana said, standing. "You have 6 days. I suggest you use them wisely." The days blurred together. Mira spent hours with Morgana, attempting to unlock her shift. They tried meditation, ancient chants, exposure to moonlight. Nothing worked. Each failure felt like confirmation of what she'd always feared, that she really was broken, that even destiny's mate bond couldn't fix her. And that bond remained frustratingly absent. Mira watched Darius from across the training yard, saw the way other she-wolves looked at him with desire and reverence, and felt nothing. No jealousy, no possessiveness, no pull. If she couldn't shift and couldn't feel the mate bond, how was she supposed to save him? On the 3rd day, she overheard his advisors arguing in the council chamber. She'd been walking past, not eavesdropping intentionally, but their raised voices carried through the heavy doors. "You need to find another mate, sire." That was Commander Thorne, Darius' second. "The blood moon is in 3 days. If the bond isn't completed, there is no other mate. Darius's voice was ice. The prophecy was clear. Prophecies can be misinterpreted, another voice argued. What if she's not truly your fated mate? What if— Enough. The single word cracked like a whip. I will not abandon her. I will not replace her. It's Mira or no one. Silence followed, then footsteps approaching the door. Mira fled before anyone could catch her listening. She made it to the palace gardens and collapsed on a stone bench, her chest tight with emotions she couldn't name. He was willing to die for her, to lose himself completely rather than give up on their bond, and she couldn't even feel it. You look troubled. Mira's head snapped up. A woman stood before her, golden-haired and beautiful, wearing the leather armor of a warrior. It took Mira a moment to recognize her. Kara? Her sister smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. Surprise. I was selected for the Alpha King's elite guard. Arrived this morning. She sat on the bench, maintaining careful distance. Quite the position you've found yourself in. The Alpha King's mate. Never saw that coming. Mira studied her sister's face, looking for mockery or resentment. Found only weariness. Neither did I. I owe you an apology, Kara said quietly. For not standing up for you. For letting the pack treat you the way they did. She stared at her hands. I was a coward. You were surviving, Mira said. I understand. Do you? Kara looked at her then. Really looked at her. I don't think you do. You want to know why I never defended you, Mira? Why I let them call you broken and worthless? Mira's throat tightened. Why? Because I was jealous. The admission came out bitter. Our entire lives, I did everything right. I shifted early, trained harder than anyone, became the perfect warrior. And yet. She shook her head. You were always the one Father truly loved. Mother's daughter, special, that's not. It is, Kara interrupted. Even now, look at you. The Alpha King's fated mate. The lunar born, who will save the kingdom. Her laugh was hollow. I'm just another warrior in his guard. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Kara reached into her armor and pulled out something small and silver. A locket. Mother left this for you, she said, pressing it into Mira's palm. Father gave it to me to destroy, but I couldn't. I think you should have it. Mira opened the locket with trembling fingers. Inside was a miniature portrait, a woman who looked exactly like Mira, with dark hair and determined eyes. And on the opposite side, an inscription in elegant script. You are not what they say you are. You are everything they fear. Tears blurred Mira's vision. She knew. Mother knew what I was. She knew what she was too, Kara said quietly, and they killed her for it. Mira's head snapped up. What? The night you were born. I heard things I wasn't supposed to hear. I was only 4, hiding in the closet while they argued. Kara's voice shook. Luna, Cassandra, and Father. She told him Mother was lunar-born, that she'd been hiding it, that if Mother lived, she'd teach you to shift, and you'd become a threat to the pack's power structure. Horror washed over Mira. And Father agreed to kill her? He loved his position more than he loved her. Kara's eyes were wet. More than he loved either of us. Luna Cassandra performed the spell on you that night, the one that locked your powers. Then they took Mother to the forest and— She couldn't finish. Mira couldn't breathe. Her mother hadn't died in childbirth. She'd been murdered because of what she was. Because of what Mira would become. Why are you telling me this now? Because Luna Cassandra followed us here, Kara said urgently. She arrived last night, claiming she came to pay respects to the Alpha King. But I heard her talking to someone in the lower gardens. She's planning something, Mira. Something to do with the blood moon. Before Mira could respond, a scream split the air. Both sisters jumped to their feet. Wolves were running toward the palace, shouting. Mira's heart stopped when she saw Commander Thorn carrying a limp body, Darius. She ran without thinking, pushing through the gathering crowd. Darius was conscious, but barely, his skin pale, his silver eyes unfocused. What happened? She demanded. Dark magic, Morgana said, appearing at her side. The witch's face was grim. Someone poisoned him with a curse accelerant. The memory curse is progressing faster than it should. How much faster? Mira's voice shook. He has hours, not days. Morgana looked at her meaningfully. If the bond isn't completed by tonight's moon, blood moon or not, he'll lose himself completely. Mira felt the world tilting. They were out of time. Darius's eyes found hers, and for a moment, clarity returned to them. Mira, he rasped. Run! Whoever did this, they're here. They want you dead. I'm not leaving you. You have to. His words cut off as his body convulsed. When his eyes opened again, they were blank, empty. Darius? Mira grabbed his hand, and that's when she felt it a flicker of something. Not the mate bond, but recognition. Power calling to power. Morgana saw it too. Your blood, she said quickly. Lunar-born blood can counteract dark magic, but you'd need to access your power first. I can't shift, then he dies. Morgana's words were brutal but honest. And when he becomes feral, he'll kill everyone in this palace, starting with you. Mira looked at Darius's unconscious face, at the man who had protected her, believed in her, chosen her over his own survival. And she felt something crack inside her chest, not the mate bond, but something deeper. Rage. Rage at Luna Cassandra for murdering her mother. Rage at her pack for making her feel broken. Rage at the world for hunting lunar-borns to extinction. Rage at herself for believing she was worthless. No, she said quietly. He doesn't die. Not tonight. Not ever. The temperature in the courtyard dropped. Frost spread across the ground from where Mira stood. Delicate patterns of ice blooming like flowers. Morgana's eyes widened. That's it. Hold on to that feeling. Let it consume you. Mira, Kara breathed. Your eyes. Mira could feel it now, the power that had been locked away her entire life, straining against the magical bindings. Every memory of humiliation, every moment of shame, every time she'd been told she was nothing, it all fueled the fire building in her chest. I am not broken, she said, her voice echoing with power. I am not worthless. I am. A dagger flew through the air, aimed directly at her heart. Mira moved on instinct. She threw up her hand, and silver light exploded from her palm, disintegrating the dagger mid-flight. The courtyard erupted into chaos. Luna Cassandra stood at the palace entrance, dark magic swirling around her hands, her beautiful face twisted with hatred. You should have stayed suppressed, the Luna snarled. Should have died broken and alone like your pathetic mother? Something inside Mira snapped. The spell binding her powers shattered like glass. Power flooded through Mira's veins like liquid fire and ice combined. She gasped as her body began to change, but not into a wolf. Never into a wolf. Her skin erupted in silver light. Her bones shifted, reformed, expanded. Wings unfurled from her back, massive and magnificent, made of pure moonlight that solidified into feathers of silver flame. Her body grew, lengthened, became something between human and divine. She was a phoenix, a creature of silver fire and moon magic, with eyes that blazed like stars and wings that spanned 20 feet. The courtyard fell silent. Every wolf present dropped to their knees, unable to resist the ancient power radiating from her transformed body. Impossible, Luna Cassandra whispered, her face draining of color. The legends said. The legends lied. Mira's voice resonated with otherworldly power. She could feel everything now, the earth beneath her talons, the moon overhead, the magic woven through every living thing. And more than that, she could feel him. The bond, blazing to life like a supernova. You killed my mother. You stole my childhood. You cursed the man I love. Love. The word surprised her, but she knew it was true. She loved Darius, not because of a magical bond, but because he'd seen her worth when no one else had, because he'd chosen her over his own survival. And now she would save him. Mira spread her wings and released a cry that shook the palace foundations. Silver fire poured from her, washing over Darius's prone form. But this wasn't destructive fire, it was healing light, Purifying magic, the kind that had been hunted to extinction because it threatened those who relied on darkness. The dark magic poisoning Darius burned away like fog under sunlight. Color returned to his face. His chest rose with a deep, shuddering breath. And his eyes, those beautiful silver eyes, opened clear and focused and whole. "Mira?" he breathed, staring up at her transformed shape in wonder. She shifted back to human form, her wings folding into nothingness, her body returning to its normal size. But she could still feel the power thrumming beneath her skin, ready to be called upon. "I'm here," she said, helping him sit up. "And I understand now why I couldn't feel the bond before. Why?" His hand cupped her cheek, thumb brushing away tears she hadn't realized were falling. "Because the bond wasn't blocked. I was. The spell didn't just suppress my shift, it suppressed my ability to feel any magic, including the mate bond." She looked at Luna Cassandra, who was trying to back away slowly. "But she made a mistake. She thought locking away my power would make me weak. Instead, it just made me angry." Darius followed her gaze, and his expression went cold as winter. He rose to his feet with lethal grace. "You cursed me. You killed Mira's mother. You've been manipulating the Silvercrest pack for decades." Luna Cassandra's mask of composure finally cracked. "You don't understand. Lunar-borns are dangerous. They're healers," Morgana interrupted, stepping forward. The ancient witch's eyes glowed with barely contained fury. "I've studied the true histories, not the propaganda spread during the Purge. Lunar-borns could neutralize dark magic, yes, but they used that power to protect, not destroy. They were slaughtered because they stood against the wolves who wanted absolute power. They threatened the natural order," Luna Cassandra shrieked. They could have stopped people like you," Mira said quietly. "That's what you really feared, not that we were monsters, but that we could reveal the monsters hiding among the wolves." Dark magic exploded from Luna Cassandra's hands, a desperate last attack. But Mira was ready. She shifted partially, just her wings manifesting, and they curved around Darius protectively. The dark magic hit her wings and dissolved into harmless sparks. "You can't hurt me anymore," Mira said. "You can't hurt anyone anymore." She released her wings, and silver fire surged forward, not to kill, but to contain. It wrapped around Luna Cassandra like glowing chains, binding her in place. The Luna struggled, but lunar-born magic was absolute against dark arts. "The Silvercrest pack will answer for their crimes," Darius said, his voice carrying command. "Commander Thorn, place her in the high-security cells. She'll stand trial for murder, conspiracy, and attempted assassination of the Alpha King." Guards rushed forward to take custody of the still-struggling Luna. As they dragged her away, she looked back at Mira with pure hatred. "This isn't over," she spat. "There are others who remember, others who fear what you are." "Let them fear," Mira said calmly. "I'm done being afraid." The Luna's screams faded as she was pulled into the palace depths. The crowd that had gathered slowly dispersed, wolves whispering among themselves about what they'd witnessed. Mira sagged suddenly, exhaustion hitting her like a wave. Darius caught her immediately, pulling her against his chest. "I've got you," he murmured into her hair. "You're safe now." "The curse," she said urgently, pushing back to look at his face. "Did I break it? Are you whole?" He finished, wonder in his voice. "For the first time in 10 years, my mind is completely clear. No fog, no gaps, no missing pieces. You healed me, Mira. You saved me." Relief made her knees weak. "The blood moon is tomorrow night," he said. "But the curse is already broken. Your power, your presence, the bond between us, it was enough." He cupped her face in both hands, his thumbs tracing her cheekbones. "You are extraordinary. Did you know that?" Mira laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. "I spent my entire life being told I was broken. I'm still getting used to the alternative." "Then let me help you get used to it." He lowered his head until their foreheads touched. "Let me spend every day showing you exactly how precious you are." The mate bond blazed between them, no longer blocked, And Mira finally understood what everyone had described. It wasn't just attraction or destiny. It was recognition, soul calling to soul, power answering power, two halves of a whole finally reunited. "I love you," she whispered, the words feeling both terrifying and right. "I don't know when it happened, but I do." "I know exactly when it happened for me," Darius said with a soft smile. "The moment I saw you in that clearing, broken and brave and beautiful, refusing to apologize for what you were. You stole my heart before I even knew your name." He kissed her then, and Mira felt the bond surge between them like lightning. Not completed, that would come later, under the blood moon, with ceremony and intention, but acknowledged. Accepted, cherished. When they finally broke apart, Mira noticed Kara standing at the edge of the courtyard, watching, with tears streaming down her face. "Kara," Mira called. Her sister approached hesitantly. "I'm sorry. For everything. For not protecting you. For not telling you the truth sooner. Mira pulled her into a hug, cutting off the apology. "You told me when it mattered most. You gave me Mother's locket. You chose me over your position in the pack." She pulled back to meet Kara's eyes. "That took courage." "What will happen to Father?" Kara asked quietly. "To the Silvercrest pack?" Darius's expression hardened. "Your father was complicit in murder and suppression of a lunar-born. The pack knowingly harbored a dark witch and benefited from her crimes. There will be consequences." "But," Mira prompted, sensing there was more. "But," Darius continued, his tone softening slightly, "not all of Silvercrest is guilty. The younger generation, the wolves who didn't know the truth, they deserve a chance." He looked at Kara. "I'm putting you in charge of reformation. You'll work with my council to root out corruption and rebuild Silvercrest into a pack worthy of the name." Kara's eyes widened. "Me? But you're the new alpha of Silvercrest," Darius said firmly. "Your first act will be opening the pack's archives. Every secret, every hidden history. The truth needs to see daylight." Mira squeezed her sister's hand. "You can do this. You're stronger than Father ever gave you credit for." Kara nodded, resolve settling over her features. "I won't let you down. Either of you." As Kara left to begin her new duties, Morgana approached. The ancient witch's expression was unusually gentle. "You did well, child," she said to Mira. "Your mother would be proud." "I wish I'd known her," Mira said quietly. "Perhaps you can." Morgana pulled a small crystal vial from her robes. "Lunar-borns had a gift for preserving memories. Your mother left hers in this crystal before she died. It was among her possessions that I acquired over the years." She pressed the vial into Mira's palm. "Pour it over your locket tonight. You'll see her as she truly was." Mira's fingers closed around the vial, emotion choking her. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Morgana said wryly. "I'm going to be training you to control your powers, and I am not known for being a gentle teacher." She turned to Darius. "The curse is broken, but you should know breaking it has consequences." Darius tensed. "What kind of consequences?" "The good kind, for once." Morgana's smile was enigmatic. "The curse was suppressing something in you as well. Old magic, ancient power that's been dormant for centuries. Now that it's free." She shrugged. "Let's just say the Alpha King is about to become significantly more powerful. Try not to let it go to your head." With that cryptic warning, she swept away, leaving Mira and Darius alone in the courtyard as stars began to appear overhead. "Come," Darius said, taking her hand. "Let me show you something." He led her to the highest tower of the palace, up winding stairs to a room with windows on all sides. The view was breathtaking, the entire capital spread out below, lights beginning to twinkle as night fell. And above, the moon was rising, huge and silver and perfect. "This is where I come when the weight of ruling becomes too much," Darius said softly. "Where I come to remember who I am beneath the crown and the title." He turned to her. "I want you to have it. A space that's yours alone, where you can be Mira, not the lunar-born, not my mate, just you." Tears threatened again. No one had ever given her something just for herself. No expectations, no conditions. "Thank you," she whispered. He pulled her into his arms, and they stood there as the moon rose higher, bathing them in silver light. Mira could feel her power responding to the lunar rays, feel the phoenix stirring within her, ready to be called upon whenever she needed it. But more than that, she felt the bond solid and real and unbreakable. She felt Darius's heart beating in time with hers, felt his emotions mixing with her own until she couldn't tell where he ended and she began. "Tomorrow," he said, "under the blood moon, we complete the bond. You'll become my Luna, my queen. The wolves will bow to you as they bow to me." He pulled back to look into her eyes. "Are you ready for that? For everything it means?" Mira thought about the girl she'd been just days ago, broken, rejected, hopeless, and she thought about who she was now, powerful, loved, chosen. "I'm ready," she said, "for all of it." The next day passed in a blur of preparation. Mira met with seamstresses who crafted her ceremonial gown silver silk that shimmered like moonlight, with a train embroidered with phoenixes in thread that seemed to glow. She met with Darius's council, fierce wolves who sized her up with skeptical eyes until she accidentally let her power flare, and they all dropped into instinctive bows. But it was the evening, alone in her tower room with her mother's locket and the vial of memories, that changed everything. Mira poured the crystal liquid over the locket as Morgana had instructed. Light exploded from it, coalescing into a figure, a woman who looked exactly like an older version of Mira, with kind eyes and a warm smile. "Hello, my darling daughter," the image said, and Mira's breath caught. "If you're seeing this, it means you've come into your power. It means you've survived." The image flickered, sadness crossing those familiar features. "I'm so sorry I couldn't be there to guide you. I'm sorry for what they'll do to you. What they'll make you believe about yourself." Tears streamed down Mira's face as her mother continued. "You need to know the truth about Lunarborns. We weren't hunted because we were dangerous. We were hunted because we could heal what others wanted to remain broken. We could purify dark magic, yes, but more than that, we could see through lies, unmask corruption, bring light to the darkest places." Her mother's eyes blazed with passion. "That's why they feared us. Not our power, but our truth." The image reached out as if trying to touch Mira's cheek. "You are not the last Lunarborn, my love. There are others, hidden, suppressed, waiting. And now that you've awakened, they'll feel it. Your light will call to theirs." She paused. "This is your purpose, Mira. Not just to break one curse or save one king, but to heal a broken world, to bring back the light that was stolen." The image began to fade. "I love you. I will always love you, and I am so proud of who you've become." Then she was gone, and Mira was alone with the weight of destiny on her shoulders. A knock at the door broke her from her reverie. "Come in," she called, wiping her tears. Darius entered, magnificent in formal black and silver, his hair loose around his shoulders. He stopped when he saw her face. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," she said, then reconsidered. "Everything. My mother showed me what I'm meant to do, and it's bigger than I imagined. Bigger than us." He crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. "Tell me." She did. She told him about her mother's message, about the other hidden Lunarborns, about the purpose that suddenly felt crushing in its scope. "I'm scared," she admitted. "What if I'm not strong enough? What if I fail?" "Then you fail," Darius said simply. "And you get up and try again. That's what makes you extraordinary, Mira. Not that you're powerful, but that you keep fighting even when you're terrified." He tilted her chin up. "And you won't be doing it alone. You'll have me, my kingdom, an army of wolves who will follow you into the dark because they've seen your light. Why do you have so much faith in me? Because I've seen who you are when everything is stripped away. When you had nothing, no power, no pack, no reason to hope, you still stood tall. You still refused to break." He kissed her forehead gently. "That kind of strength doesn't come from magic. It comes from here." He placed his hand over her heart. "And that's the kind of strength that changes the world." The blood moon began to rise, visible through the tower windows. Its crimson light spilled into the room, bathing them both in scarlet and shadow. "It's time," Darius said softly. They descended to the palace courtyard, where wolves from every territory had gathered. Word had spread about the Alpha King's lunar-born mate, and they'd come to witness history. Morgana stood at the center of the courtyard, her white robes stark against the red moonlight. She beckoned them forward. "The bond between fated mates is sacred," she intoned, her voice carrying to every corner of the courtyard. "But a bond completed under the blood moon is eternal, unbreakable, beyond death itself." She looked at Darius, then Mira. "Are you prepared to bind yourselves together, now and forever?" "Yes," they said in unison. "Then let the ceremony begin." What followed was ancient and beautiful. Morgana spoke words in a language older than wolves, older than civilization itself. She drew symbols in the air that glowed with power, weaving magic between Mira and Darius like visible threads. When it came time for the marking, Darius shifted partially, his canines elongating. He pulled Mira close, giving her one last chance to pull away. She didn't. His teeth sank into the junction of her neck and shoulder, and pleasure pain exploded through her. The bond, already strong, became an inferno. She could feel everything he felt, his love, his devotion, his absolute certainty that she was his and he was hers. When he pulled back, blood on his lips, she shifted partially as well. Her form changed, becoming something between human and phoenix, with silver talons instead of nails. She marked him in return, her talons tracing glowing symbols on his chest, the lunar-born claiming mark, forever branding him as hers. The bond snapped into place with the force of a thunderclap. Mira gasped, as power flooded through her, not just her own, but Darius's as well, mixing and merging until she couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. She was him and he was her, and they were something new together, something unprecedented. The blood moon seemed to pulse in response, its light intensifying until the entire courtyard was bathed in crimson brilliance. "It is done," Morgana declared. "Behold your queen, Mira Blackthorn, Luna of Lunaris, the lunar phoenix." The wolves dropped to their knees as one, heads bowed in reverence. But Mira barely noticed. She was too focused on Darius, on the bond between them, on the way his emotions flooded through her like a second heartbeat. "I love you," he said directly into her mind, the bond allowing the intimacy. "I love you too," she replied the same way, marveling at it. As the ceremony concluded and wolves began to celebrate, Morgana pulled them aside. "Your mother was right," the witch said to Mira. "There are others. I've felt their stirrings across the territories. Your awakening has called to them." She paused. "Some will come willingly, others will need to be found, and some will be controlled by those who fear what they represent. Then we find them," Mira said firmly. "All of them. We bring them home. A worthy quest for a queen," Morgana said with approval. "But not tonight. Tonight, you celebrate. Tomorrow," she smiled enigmatically. "Tomorrow, you begin changing the world." Later, alone in their chambers, Mira stood at the window watching the blood moon set. Darius came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and resting his chin on her shoulder. "Regrets?" he asked softly. "None," she said honestly. "I went from having nothing to having everything in less than a week. It's overwhelming, but it feels right." "Good," he turned her to face him. "Because I have something to tell you." Something Morgana's spell revealed when the curse broke. Mira tensed. "What?" "I'm not just the Alpha King," he said slowly. "I'm the last descendant of the first Alpha, the original wolf who was blessed by the moon goddess herself. That's why the curse was able to affect me so strongly. That's why I'm more powerful than other wolves." He paused. "And that's why you and I together are significant. The last of the first wolves, and the first of the reborn lunar-borns. We're a bridge between the old world and the new." Mira processed this, feeling the truth of it through their bond. "My mother said my purpose was to heal a broken world. Maybe this is how. By uniting what was torn apart during the purge." The wolves and the lunar-borns, Darius agreed. Working together instead of in fear. He smiled. It won't be easy. Nothing worth doing is. They stood together, in comfortable silence, watching as the blood moon finally disappeared below the horizon and normal moonlight returned. Mira could feel her power settling into her bones, no longer wild and new but integrated, hers. She thought about the girl she'd been the pack's reject, worthless and broken. And she thought about who she was, now a queen, a lunar-born, a bridge between worlds. The journey from one to the other had been painful. But standing here, with her mate's arms around her, and destiny stretching out before her like an unwritten book, Mira finally understood something crucial. She had never been broken. She had simply been becoming. Mira stood in the council chamber, surrounded by wolves from every major territory. They'd come because she'd called, because word had spread of the lunar-born queen who could heal curses and purify corruption. And because 12 other lunar-borns had answered her call, emerging from hiding to claim their birthright. They stood beside her now, men and women of various ages, each with their own unique shift. Not all were phoenixes. Some became silver stags with antlers of light, others became great cats with moonlit fur. One was a dragon made of stars. But all of them were powerful. All of them were ready to reclaim what had been stolen. The purge was a mistake, Mira said, her voice carrying through the chamber. It was based on fear and lies, and it nearly destroyed something precious. But we're still here. We survived. And now we offer you a choice. She gestured to the assembled lunar-borns. Work with us to build a better world. Let us heal the wounds that have festered for 3 centuries. Let us show you that we're not your enemies, we're your partners, your guardians, your friends. Silence filled the chamber. Then, slowly, one alpha stood, then another, until every alpha present was on their feet. We accept, they said in unison. Darius squeezed her hand through their bond, pride and love flooding through him. Well done, my queen. Our queen, she corrected. This is for all of us. As the council dissolved into excited planning, Mira caught sight of Kara in the crowd. Her sister had done well as Silvercrest's new alpha, rooting out corruption, opening the archives, even banishing their father when his crimes came to full light. They'd grown closer over these months. Not quite the sisters they might have been, if they'd grown up differently. But something real and honest, nevertheless. Marcus Ashford was in exile. Luna Cassandra awaited execution for murder and dark magic. And the wolves who had persecuted Mira for her entire childhood now bowed when she passed. She should have felt vindicated, triumphant. Instead, she felt peaceful, complete, like she'd finally found where she belonged. Ready to change the world? Darius murmured, pulling her close. Mira looked at the lunar-borns, at the alphas planning a new future, at Morgana arguing with someone about magical theory. She felt her power humming beneath her skin, felt the bond connecting her to Darius like an anchor and wings all at once. I'm ready, she said, and somewhere in the night sky, the moon seemed to shine a little brighter, as if the universe itself was smiling.